Proud here on TVS that our next programme is creating a little bit of television history. The real world with an extra dimension.
Hello and welcome to the real world of 3D. Tonight you're going to be sharing in a television first as we bring you national colour television in 3D.
To join us completely, you are of course going to need the special glasses, but even if you haven't got them or you're watching in black and white, then I can promise there's still going to be a fair amount in the programme to intrigue you. Now, we recommend to get the full effect that you sit slightly further back from the screen than you normally do, and that you dim the lights, make the room slightly darker than it usually is for television viewing. Don't forget, it's red lens to the left, blue lens to the right, and just before you have to put them on to get a 3D effect, we're going to run a special 3D symbol. Here comes the first one, and after that, you'll see Sue as you've never seen her before.
From the Philips Research Studios here at Eindhoven in Holland, I can appear on your televisions for the very first time in 3 dimensions. You can probably see that there's a real distance between me and the cameras behind me. And I'm carrying this feather duster not because the studios are dirty, but to show you one of the amazing effects of 3D. These black and white pictures were part of a special experimental 3D broadcast in the south of England earlier this year. Test pictures were made by the German producer Hans Herbst, who has pioneered 3D broadcasts in Europe. You'll need to give your eyes time to see the 3D. After all, you're asking your brain to do something it's not used to. For some people, it can take up to a full half minute to get the effect, so don't give up yet. And these are the latest pictures produced in Europe by Philips. After German television started 3D broadcasts from a studio, it was a Dutch television station, NOS, which took the cameras out onto location to a dolphinarium near Amsterdam.
All the European experiments have been in black and white. But now, using new techniques from America, the real world takes television with a third dimension one step further, into colour. Now with the glasses, you should be able to look across Trafalgar Square just as in real life. These pictures were shot by British 3D veteran Charles Smith. Don't expect the colour to be as strong as it would be without the glasses, since a lot of the colour information is absorbed by the coloured lenses. These pictures actually started life on film. They've now been reprocessed using the new technique for television. But now, for the first time, we can see pictures generated in a British television studio using the new American 3D system. Over the last few days, the Real World Studio has been experiencing a little pioneering as our director and the crew faced up to television production in 3D.
Tilt down, take this away, we've got it marked, and let's see if the ball works with its head in the smoke very close to the camera. If it doesn't work, then there's no point in doing what we're trying to do. It'll work with just...
So how does it work? Well, the technique actually capitalizes on the principle that your brain is already extremely good at unscrambling the information that it receives from each of your eyes. Try this. Put one finger up in front of your eyes, in front of the television screen. Shut one eye. Now shut the other. Do that alternately. And you'll see your finger appearing to move from left to right in relation to the television screen. This is because your brain is receiving two separate images, one from each eye. It unscrambles those images, and in life it gives you vision with depth. Now, in order to get 3D from a screen, you need those two images present on the screen. In the old days, they were tinted different colours to match the colours in your special glasses. Now, this was enough information to give you 3D, but only in black and white.
So, why does it work in colour? Well, only because the brain is even more versatile than we thought. This is the camera rig from the States. Two perfectly conventional colour cameras, one viewing the subject direct, the other offset at 90 degrees, viewing it via a semi-silvered mirror. The two displaced images are married together on the screen and only separated once more by the glasses, with the left eye receiving a predominantly red left image and the right eye through the blue filter receiving a right image, which also contains just enough extra colour information to give the brain a chance to present us with an image which has some colour and depth. Let's see some more of those images.
This is a British first. Shooting 3D in a television studio for an audience at home is something that's never been tried in this country before. So all of us on The Real World are enjoying the opportunity that 3D provides for shooting some special effects. And those effects don't only involve things coming at you out of the screen. 3D also provides the opportunity for perspective and depth inside the picture. So remember, always look backwards as well as to the front.
Now, for anybody who is having to watch these pictures without the special 3D glasses, we hope that the slight fringing isn't proving too annoying. In fact, for most of the time, just a mild red or blue edge to the picture will be all that gives away the fact that these images are truly three-dimensional. As you can see, 3D is very far from being dead. Indeed, much of the thanks for its resuscitation is due to Hollywood.
They haven't been content with 3D cinema. They've gone overboard for 3D television, a demand the studios are doing their utmost to fill.
All right. Just do what I'm asking you to do, for Christ's sake, for once.
Very good, sir.
Are we all right?
Quiet, everybody!
Chuck, is that your position?
That's it.
That's it? It's not very good. However... Charles, can you do something about the ocular focus there to make it stand out more or something? Don't give me the whole spiel, just tell me if you can do it.
What is the state of 3D on television here at the moment?
Well, we've
processed about 10 major feature-length films and transmitted them approximately 150 times over about 100 stations in the U.S. in the past 4 or 5 months.
And how have the audience responded to them?
Well, they've purchased about 50 million glasses in that period, and the response has been generally quite good, despite the fact that the films are 30 years old. I believe that 3D is here to stay as a means of communication, and that new programming, as we're shooting here, is the answer to providing interesting and entertaining and better quality 3D than the old films.
Give me a second opinion. I feel we're a little Trek here.
Ugly too.
A little too loose.
Those who stood and lined the route had still to learn of how Elizabeth had played her part that day. But now she was returning. For the moment, that sufficed.
It was in the early 50s that 3D in the cinema really took off. If you remember the 50s, you'll remember your local cinema cramming them in. It was the heyday of 3D movies, sparked off by films like Buona Devil, with its promise of lions in your lap. But the novelty soon wore off, and the craze died, in spite of the fact that the best 3D film ever made, The House of Wax, was considered a classic in its own right. It was an amazing achievement by director André de Toth, who, because he had only one eye, couldn't see in 3D.
One of the reasons for the success of House of Wax in the cinema was the system used to generate the 3D, which didn't depend on comparatively crude coloured lenses. These two television sets represent a left and a right image. In front of each is a polarizing filter, so set up that the light waves from the left are all horizontal, from the right are all vertical. Now, that's not apparent until, that is, I place between you and those two screens a third polarizing filter. Now, at the moment, it matches the right screen, so that's the only one you see. But if I turn the filter through 90 degrees, the right disappears and the left appears. So in the cinema, the audience was provided with spectacles which had a right lens to match the right image and a left lens to match the left image. But that, of course, depended on being able to get the left and the right polarized images onto the same screen at the same time. In the cinema, that's comparatively simple. But the television industry depends on cathode ray tubes and complex electronics, and that's not a freedom which we share. The cinema industry, which is now fighting for its survival, realizes that here is something which perhaps it could do better than television.
3D is the obvious medium for horror movies, which can really exploit its potential for terror. Friday the 13th, Part 3, is the latest box office success.
I thought it was fantastic. That was just great. I really did. It was super. Really did. Everything was coming right towards you. It was terrific.
I thought the 3D was great. That's a lot more than I can say for the picture.
It was a heart stopper.
Really?
Yeah, it was really scary. I didn't expect it to be like that.
The British reaction is yet to come. But whatever people feel about the merits of the film, the old problems associated with watching 3D are still with us. Eye strain and headaches. One man who spent nearly 6 years finding a solution to the problem is veteran cameraman Barry Gordon.
The advantage of this is that it's very much more comfortable on the viewer. When you are responsible for the viewer's eyes, because you are now showing them one image with one eye and one with the other, you have to be very, very kind to him. And you don't ask him to do things that he doesn't normally do. You can look with your eyes diverged, but it hurts, dear.
To resolve that problem cost one company $5 million. It meant going back to basic principles, studying how the eye works and how we actually focus on things.
We felt that it was probably not the glasses, not what you were looking through, but what you were looking at that gave rise to eye strain. If I choose to look out the window, at that point, the eyes are parallel, looking straight ahead at infinity. And this is the situation that we normally find ourselves in and experience in real life. It's a situation of constantly converging and reconverging and reconverging, and at best we look parallel at very distant objects and images, but the eyes, as you can see, never toe out, they never diverge. And when we examined what was happening in the cinema, 3D cinema, we found that the viewer was being forced to diverge, converge, diverge, converge. And while you can do this, you can't do it comfortably.
The analysis of how our eyes focus effortlessly on a 3D picture has now been fed into a computer attached to the camera. Barry Gordon believes his technique will transform 3D cinema. I've come to a cinema in Pasadena for a private look at 70mm, which means it's very high definition, 3D, full color, widescreen. They call it stereo space. I can't tell you, that really is absolutely terrifying and amazing. That lobster is there. I'm sitting about 50 feet back from the screen, and it has come nearer and nearer and nearer and nearer to me. Until now, I can actually, it is visually right there. My hand is right round that lobster.
I must say, I cannot imagine anybody being truly terrified of a rubber lobster.
Well, I promise you that I was, because it was so incredibly near. I'm only sorry that we can't bring you the fantastic impact of stereo space on television, but that lobster could be the start of the most astonishing revival in 3D.
Well, Dick Vetter tells us that his company is planning a full-length feature film using the stereo space technique, and that'll be in production next year. And what's more, he's taking out comprehensive insurance just in case any members of the audience prove too faint-hearted for the whole experience. But here in the United Kingdom, a different sort of pioneer has been at work. For the last 15 years, Professor Alan Boyd of the University of London has been using his scanning electron microscope to produce 3D images of the most minute scientific specimens.
What we are about in microscopy is trying to understand structures, and from understanding structures to understand the function of a tissue or an organ. Because we can see in 3 dimensions, it means that we can micro-manipulate specimens, and basically that means sticking a needle into a specimen and hoiking a bit out, and then that bit can be analysed separately, or it means that we can dissect the specimen and prepare it so that we can see surfaces inside a specimen which we couldn't see originally. We've done a lot of work in embryology, dissecting out very small embryos and dissecting those small embryos in the microscope in order to make preparations from which we can get very, very basic information about growth and differentiation. It's surprising, but it's the truth. Things in this field take off very slowly. I don't know why, but it is very difficult material to describe to people who haven't actually seen the system going. You can't describe this in print and in published black and white pictures. You have to see the dynamic information, dynamic, as we call it, real-time stereo, 3-dimensional scanning electron microscopy. When you've seen it in practice, there's no other way.
Professor Boyd has been using the 3D electron microscope to examine a wide range of specimens. This is an Indian millipede which continues to generate segments of its body throughout its adult life. Without the extra dimension, these detailed images would be almost indecipherable. And what happens inside this bone is a major area of interest to scientists. You may imagine that your bones are with you throughout your life, but in fact, for all of us, practically our entire skeleton will be eaten away and replaced by completely new tissue within a 15-year period. The process involved in this remodeling and what happens in disease can be revealed in fine detail under a 3D scanning electron microscope. And the scientific applications of 3D don't end here. 3D cameras are used regularly in hostile environments, investigating undersea wrecks or in the heart of nuclear reactors. Even in weather forecasting, the extra dimension can help. These pictures are from the Miami Hurricane Warning Center, taken by a satellite over Cuba, showing the progressive buildup of a hurricane. Look closely inside the screen at the channels near the edges of the pictures. The outline of Cuba is on the right, and looking at the fixed grid on the left-hand side should help you see the depth in the image. Be warned, with an unfamiliar image like this one, your brain may take quite a long time before it registers the 3D effect. And now, an experimental piece of computer graphics, which shows the room and the backgrounds rather better than it shows the glider flying round them.
So, 3D is already here in the world of science, where it's providing a valuable extra dimension. And in the cinemas, well, it's promising to keep the box offices extremely busy. 3D is a valuable weapon in its fight for survival.
As for television, well, who can tell? Indeed, one of the results of this experiment will be to gauge whether you, the audience, find this whole thing appealing. So we've put together what we regard as some fair examples of what television can achieve here and now in 3D. We'll see you next week and leave you with another opportunity to look at the real world with an extra dimension.
3D TV lovers in a 3D rendezvous, loving you. I was hoping it'd be a spooky movie, 'cause I wanted it to snuggle up
Sunday, another British television first. A full-length feature film in colour and in 3D. Fort Ty is an adventure western with an extra dimension. So save your glasses for Sunday at 3:45.